What's going on YouTube? It's Donnie B all day. Listen, I once brought you this knife right here. One of my favorite pieces. This is a buck open season. This is their high-end knife steel. It is as awesome as it was the day I brought it to you as it is the day now. Now this is like $100 knife, you know what I mean? And totally freaking worth it. But my thing is, what if you don't have $100 and you need a skinner? Well, here's what Frost Cutlery's done. Buck, beautiful leather sheath. How do you save some money? You make it nylon. How do you save even more money? You make it in China. So this is a Hunter's Choice from Frost Cutlery. It is a decent, not a great, not a good, not a wonderful. This is a decent little skinner. Let's see. The buck shave sharp. Let's see. Actually, I didn't think it was going to, but yeah, shave sharp. So I have to say, out of all the Frost stuff I've used, this is probably one of the sharpest out of the box. Kudos to Frost for that, and it even has a nice etched stamp right there. Now let's you like that? Let's go over this knife a little bit. You have jimping here and jimping here, giving this a pretty comfortable feel. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not that bad. When talking construction for construction, from a $100 knife to a $10 knife, and this $10 knife is still a knife. Don't let the price make you think, oh great, it's gonna snap in my hand as soon as I touch it. So you look at the size difference. This one's a little bit bigger. It's like 8 3/8, I want to say, 4.5 inch blade. The cutting edge is probably a 1/4 inch bigger than the buck. Where the buck is awesome S30V steel. This is just some, you know, run-of-the-mill stainless 440, 420, for you, for me. It's whatever it is, but it does have, I don't know what the hell this is. I don't know if it's a giant lanyard hole. I don't know if it's a stick breaker. I don't know if it's a look at the eclipse sear. I have no idea what this thing's for. But I know it's on there, and maybe it just shaves down weight from the rear. Maybe it's just decorative, because Frost tends to do a lot of decorative things on their knives. But it's there. And one of the good things is this cheap plastic handle scales, right? On their tight, they look okay. There's some little bit of minor, very, very minor, I mean, it's a $10 knife, separation right there. You can see that coming through the trees. Who gives a shit? For some cheap plastic scales, it's not uncomfortable in the hand. It's not, you don't hold this and go, ooh, I wish it had better scales. You hold this and think, okay, what can I do with it? And as far as the knife is concerned, that's what you want. You know, you want to be able to hold the knife and think, okay, what task can I complete? Now, there's no hand guard, obviously. However, the jimping up front is so mildly aggressive, and the turn right here, it's not a choil, but it's more of like a finger groove right here. Really does a good job at holding the knife in your hand, and I have to say that it's actually comfortable and I like it. The jimping on this side, now if you have giant hands like me, you want it here, but this is, you know, a skinning knife. It is what it is for size. However, if I put my palm back on the front jimping and my thumb just on the edge of this rear jimping, man, it's pretty comfortable to hold. I don't know, there's not much more to say. It's just a coated stainless steel blade, and it's not unattractive. I have to say that. It's they make some pretty decent knives. Now, Frost made themselves famous by making all these crazy fantasy buoys with frostwood handles and holes and crap all the way through the steel, and they made all these really weird looking stuff. And I think people associate the name Frost with some really weird names, but they actually make some decent value style hunters and skinners. This is a skinner, and it's decent, and it's a value knife. Now, remember, when buying a Frost knife, buy it what it's made for. If you're thinking, Oh, it's Frost. It's for, you know, it's cheap. It's blah blah blah. Okay. It's $10. It's, I mean, all these grooves right here. I don't even know if you could see them. Yeah, they're not well done. The blade's not, you know, as finished as it could be. But when it comes down to what do you need this to do as a skinning knife, that's all you need it for. It's a skinning knife. So beyond that, is it an everyday task knife? Yeah, it's a cut the rope. It's a cut open the box. It's a, you know, defend yourself from a dog coming at you or a person. It's not going to break hitting skin. I guarantee you that. It's not going to fault or waver or disappoint when it comes to self-defense, even though it's a skinner. Even though it's just some $10 stainless steel made in China crappy nylon sheath knife, this thing can handle those kind of tasks. It's still steel. And I think a lot of people think, oh, a $10 knife, what's it going to be good for? Well, it's good for what it's made for, and it's good for mild to medium tasks. But if you think, oh, I'm going to get this and I'm going to chop and I'm going to whack through bone and I'm going to do, no, it's not made for that. If you're going to pry with it, no, it's not. You're going to break the tip. But if you aren't an idiot and you don't use a knife like an idiot would use it, then there's a good shot a knife like this can last you a very long time. The only thing you'll have to do is every now and then you're going to have to resharpen that blade, which you have to sharpen blades anyway. This one just isn't going to have the edge retention of a higher quality knife like the Buck. But let's mess around with it and go have some fun and see if we can do some cool shit. All right, let's go. All right, so I made mention that this knife is pretty damn sharp. Let's give it the old how sharp are you test. That's pretty clean, guys. The only reason it didn't cut that is because I didn't touch it. I hit right here. That's pretty freaking clean. Let's see if we can hit that bottom. I don't know if you guys are in frame there. Yeah. So sharpness, man, it's sharp. I look like I'm crying. All that water splashed me in the face. Is it sharp enough to cut through a bottle and still hold an edge? Yeah, not so bad. Let's keep going. All right, so we're gonna check how well these scales are put on there, how tight they are, and remember, if they loosen, it's just little hex screws, no problem. What we're gonna do is the drop test. Checks two things. Checks balance to see if the rear is gonna pull, and it checks what do you call it? Tightness of the scales. So if it's gonna loosen, it's gonna loosen from vibration and impact. I'm gonna do light prying with this. All right. So we'll do that again. So you can see that the rear is a little heavier, which is expected, obviously. But it drops well. It's got okay balance to it. Let's see. The bite is pretty good. All right, it sinks into wood actually really good. I'm going to show you where that thing ended up. Right here, where that false edge first grind point meets, that's where that was bitten into. That's pretty decent. So I have to say it's, oh yep, if you're gonna bend a tip on a cheap knife, you're gonna bend it there. And let's see, I think we have, I don't know, look at that. I don't know, I didn't really study the grind at first, but that looks bent to me. It looks straight on one side and bent on the other, but I'm not certain if that's the grind, if it was an uneven grind. But I believe that that little tiny tip, let's see if we can bend it back, we'll be able to tell if that was the tip or if that was the grind. Let's see. So apparently, see, this is why we do this test, guys. Apparently, see how it's a little straighter now? It wasn't the grind, it was the actual tip had a little tiny bend in it, maybe. it's so hard to tell because I'm looking at this grind. Guys, I wish you could see this up close. And you can see how uneven it is. It's just not perfect, but that won't take away from, you know, what it's made to do, because you're not going to be throwing this thing into wood like I do. Of course, that's just to test it. I don't want to break this knife. My intentions aren't to break this knife, but it's just to see if it can hold up to some basic bushcraft skills, or just everyday, whoops, I dropped it into a piece of wood skills. All right, speaking of whoops, this has nothing to do with whoops. All right, so let's use it as far as the edge. Let's see what the edge has got. And the edge, it bites in right away. I'm digging out some bark pretty good. It's actually fairly easy, and some I'm actually going in farther than I want to. So that's good. I underestimated the knife when I chose my angles originally, right? So here we go. Let's am I still in frame here? Yeah. So this part is nice. Too hard. And let's see. Well, I could do that all day. Those are pretty good. With a sharpened edge, literally, I mean, if you sharpen a soda can, you can feather stick. People give it way too much credit, feather sticking, as far as the value of a knife. Don't let feather sticking be your deciding factor. Just let it be something nice to know that, depending on the width of the grind, like the Sheffield MOD doesn't feather stick well because it's so fat, right? This one's got a nice little, feels like a hollow grind. So it should feather stick well. Remember, it's all in the edge, the profile. So let's see if I need to make spikes for a trap. It's going to be good, or spearfish or things like that. It's going to be well. Let's notch with it real quick. And man, it actually, you could hear it go in. That was kind of cool. So let's make a tent post style notch. And we'll cut that off right there. So you got to tie down a tent. Okay, that's no problem. Let's make the old Lincoln log. Full notch here. Oh yeah, am I still in frame? I'm totally fucking up on you guys. All right, so there we go. All right, so it notches pretty easily, pretty well. That was not a concern. The spine is 90, so you could spark with the spine. I mean, you can even make fluff with the spine. That's doing it pretty well. So I mean, I don't have anything. I don't have any leather or any pig or anything like that to skin with. So this is going to be one of those short videos about a $10 skinner that can actually skin. Is it worth 10 bucks? Yeah, but can you throw it? Let's go find out. All right, guys, like most knives I own, this is not a throwing knife. But like all knives I own, I'm gonna throw it. So let's do that. What do you say we back up here? Holy mackerel. First throw and it was perfect. Oh man, and it bit really well. If the tip is going to bend, it's going to bend doing stuff like this too, so we'll keep an eye on that. I'll tell you what, Frost Cutlery makes $10 worth of fun. No tip damage. I'm thinking it's so difficult to tell, but I don't think the tip bent. I actually think the grind is just so far off on one side that it looks like it did. Overall, what do I think about this knife? I think this is a great budget knife, and it did everything I wanted it to. If I want to skin with it, and I need to get this tip into something. I mean, I don't know how well you could look at that. I mean, this is wood, right? If you can go through wood, you can go through skin, believe me that. It's just, it's a pretty effortless downward pull. The blade is so sharp that it goes through with no problems. And, you know, the tip is held. It's held its edge so far. So obviously, you're not going to lose it in the first 30 seconds of doing what you need to do. But if you're going to be skinning for 20 minutes, this will hold an edge for 20 minutes. I guarantee you, if you're skinning something big, if you're skinning a deer or hog, you might want to run it across a stone after. You could probably use that on the edge. But if you're doing fish or something small like rabbit, I don't know, you'll be fine. You can get through a bunch of those guys before you're really gonna have to worry about sharpening this thing. It's just a little Frost skinning knife. It's a Hunter's Choice, and I gotta say, it's not too shabby. Not for the price. Cheap scale construction, yep. Cheap nylon sheath, yep. But made in China, yep. But guess what? That's why the price is where it's at. You can afford this knife on any budget because of those things. Because they didn't use some beautiful hardwoods. Because they didn't use some sweet leather sheath. Because they didn't have it made in, I don't know, Oregon. Because of this, all these factors together, and because they just used a regular stainless steel, which is still steel, because of all that, you get a knife that performs at the $30 range for 10 bucks. And so if you are looking for something dirt cheap that you can actually use, I say go for it. Frost Cutlery makes a lot of these $10 to $15 knives that are usable. So I say if you need one, get one and use it. I'm Donnie B all day, and until next knife.